Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Hello and welcome to the webinar session of our international conference on the theme, Learn the Key Secrets in Publishing Quality Manuscripts in Reputed Journals. I, Deepika Upadhyay, would like to welcome our guest speaker for the session, Mr. Brandon Randolph Singh. The speaker is the Associate Professor of Management at Texas A&M University, Commerce. His current research examines the ethical, diversity, and cognitive factors in leadership, entrepreneurship, and teams. Collectively, his work has been cited 1,300 times. He teaches mainly organizational ethics, behavior-related courses at UG and PG levels. His recent consulting experience is in public sector, ranging from local municipality and to larger defense-related contracts. He also serves as editor-in-chief for the renowned journal Management Decision. I would also welcome Dr. Anand Shankar Raja, who will moderate today's session by initiating thought-provoking questions from the audience. So, without any further ado, I would hand over the session to the speaker. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that introduction. I really appreciate it. I need to share my screen, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
Let's see if they'll let me. Are you able to see that?
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible to us.
Great. I'm just going to put it into full screen. Well, thank you for inviting me for this webinar. I really do like talking about research and management decision in particular, which I'm the editor-in-chief of. We've been doing a lot of work with the journal, so I want to show you some of the statistics for the journal so you can get an idea of what we're about and the research we publish. And then I really would like to talk about when we look at papers that are rejected, the reasons for that, and then also some opportunities that you might have with the journal, various publishing opportunities you have. So that's what I would like to do today with you. So really great introduction that was given. Just some other things to add there. So I've been at A&M University, Texas A&M University since 2012. So almost 10 years I've been at the university. I've been with Management Decision actually since 2014. I just joined as a board member originally, and then transitioned over to an associate editor for about 5 years. And then I was a senior associate editor for about a year before becoming editor-in-chief. I actually became editor-in-chief in 2020. So it's been, you know, a little bit of time since I've been with the journal. In terms of my research interest, teaching, that was all covered very well in the introduction, so I'll just move on here. Like I said, I want to talk just a little bit about the statistics for Management Decision so you can get an idea about the journal and the processes we use, because I think that's useful information when you're trying to understand what it is that the process works in the journal. Because this is going to relate, of course, to other journals as well. It's maybe a similar process that other journals use. If we look to see, so I have here just the top 5 countries that publish a Management Decision. And it goes, you know, up and down over the years, but it's fairly consistent in terms of the top 5. If we expanded the list, we would see that we publish really from countries across the world. including India. We publish quite a few articles from India as well. But these are the top 5. So we have Italy, China, Spain, UK, and the US are where we kind of pull from our top authors in terms of numbers. And in terms of how many articles we publish a year, we are trending upwards. You know, there's some ups and downs. 2019, we published quite a few, but we're pretty comfortably now looking at over 150 articles a year that we're publishing. Now, when I show you how many we receive, you'll see that it is competitive, right? It's a very competitive environment that we're involved in with the journal, but we are trying to kind of slowly over time up the amount of articles we publish per year. And that's reflected in the fact that we get a lot of submissions. Now, the 2021 impact factor rankings will be coming out very soon because if you know how these work, they're always a year behind. So we're in 2022 now. So 2021 will be coming out very soon. They're just not quite out yet. So these are the rankings that we have so far. And management decisions been doing pretty well. I gave some examples across the bottom. You can kind of see how we were floating around 1 point something for a while. And then I don't have 2019 there, but we got up to 2 point something. And now, we're up to 4.957 for our 2020 impact factor. So we're doing pretty well. And this is reflected once again in the number of submissions we get and the fact that we can really pull from the best articles that we receive. And so in terms of our site score rankings, we're doing pretty well if we look into the context of business management and some of those other ways in which it ranks us. We're slowly moving up over time. Management decision has been around, and we actually this year created a new seal that I have up here in the corner that you can see, the MD 1967. So management decision was the very first journal that was produced by Emerald. It wasn't called Emerald at the time when the journal first came out. And so this year is actually our 55th year as a journal. And so slowly over time, we've been able to, and I can't take credit for that because it's long before my time, but quality has been increasing slowly over time until we get to the point now of 2022. And I fully expect when the 2021 impact factor rankings come out, I think they come out just in a couple more months here, a month or two, we should be easily above a 5.0 ranking. And so we look at the submissions we receive, the impact factor. This of course is all reflected in the citations. And so we have a nice steady increase across time in terms of citations. So we have the cross-reference citations there and then the ranking on the other side. And you can see just from 2020 to 2021, we didn't quite double it, but we did pretty well in terms of citations. And already in 2022, we're almost at 2,000, even though we're at the beginning of the year. And so once again, you look at the numbers here from 2020, go from 3.74 to 6.26. So the journal is becoming more well-known and more cited, and thus that's increasing our impact factor and also increasing our number of submissions that we're getting, which I'm going to show you here. So I have 2019, 2020, and 2021. 2021 numbers are not, well, this slide, they actually are up to date. So you can see that if you look at the original submissions in 2021, we had 1546 original submissions, and then it shows you the revised and the total there. And so if you just look at original submissions from 2019, 2020, 2021, it's going up. It went up quite a bit from 2019. So we had a total of 1295, 2020, 1508, and then 2021, 1546. So it is going up over time. We've already received hundreds of submissions this year. And so we can really pull from the best of the best when we're getting that many submissions, which once again makes it so we have better articles that we're publishing, and thus people are going to cite it more. So it's kind of this positive cycle that we're into that we hope to continue to build on. This is the one that's not completely up to date. The 2021, the overall acceptance rate is actually correct. So in 2021, our acceptance rate was 8.3. Usually we hover around 10% or so. It was a little bit lower in 2021. So you can see in 2020 we had a 10.8 acceptance rate. 2019 10.6. 8.3 is a little bit low. But once again, it's just a matter of what we receive and the quality of what we're getting. So you can see that we have a lot of rejects there. You know, the just straight rejects that we get account for 74%, right, of the total number of submissions that we get. So there are a lot of rejections going on, and a part of that is just the nature of what we can publish per year. You know, I showed you that we can really only publish, you know, maybe 160 articles per year, but if we're receiving, you know, over 1,500 submissions, then that means that there are a lot of articles that are going to be rejected. And so I'm going to talk about with you why that is and maybe how to avoid being rejected. But I think it's useful to see this from our side, where we're really under a lot of pressure to get the best articles because we're receiving so many submissions. And so just because you have a rejection doesn't mean your article is worthless, of course, right? It might mean it needs some work, but it means that I'm sure there's a home somewhere for it. So here's our decision timeframes, just for your information. I tried to pull from the last few years, and these numbers are completely up to date for 2021. I just pulled these in yesterday. We're really trying to lower this. 2021, we didn't lower it. You know, it's still maybe statistically similar, but you can see in 2020 we had, so this is first decision. So you submit it, it goes to the reviews. How long is it going to take for you to get your feedback back? So we had about 44 days in 2020. It bumped up about 53 days, right, in 2021. But it's all fairly similar. And then the other thing we have here is how long does it take to get your final decision? And so first decision and final decision might be the same thing, but it's not going to be the same thing if you're going to do revisions. And you saw there, let me go back to this one, that revisions are really just a necessary part of the process. I've never just fully accepted an article based on the first version of it. There's always room for improvement in lots of articles. And so you can see here under revised, last year, we had 291 revised articles that we dealt with. So revisions are just a part of the process. It's a part of what it is to be a researcher and to really put out your best work. It's a collective effort where we get experts to review the work, and we have editors, associate editors review the work. And then if we really feel like it has potential, then it's going to go through a number of revisions. So that got bumped up a little bit more in 2021. We had about 83 days to final decision there. It seemed like, we were kind of going in the direction of lowering these numbers a little bit, but 2021, people were kind of tired. I think they were tired from 2020, and so things just took a little bit longer. But still, I think we're holding our own and doing okay there. All right, so let's talk about publishing a management decision. I want to talk about the most common reasons why papers are rejected, and some other issues here. So 3 most common reasons. It's not really, I guess, amazing to know this. It's pretty much common sense of why these would be the reasons. And I did put these really in rank order in terms of the most common. These are the top 3. So the very most common reason why a paper is rejected is it just does not have enough theory development in it. Although management science hasn't been around for a long time, we do pull from a lot of other sciences that have been around for a while, such as psychology, sociology, political science, other types of social sciences that we pull from. And so there is a lot of theory out there that you can build off of. And so a part of that theory development is going to be, of course, just the literature. So do you actually cite the literature that's out there? Do you show that you've read the literature, that you understand the literature, that you understand how your research fits into the broader picture? Science is a collective endeavor, and so we build off of each other. And if we're not building off of each other, then you're not really joining the scientific conversation, if you want to put it like that. You're not really identifying what is the gap in what we already know. Instead, you might just be redoing what we already know. And so it's not a progression in science. Does your paper provide a significant contribution to the theory, the literature in the area, the research done in the area? And most commonly when people get rejected for this, it's really just because they haven't dug in deep enough into the relevant literature. And so they're not able to speak to how their research contributes to the broader scientific community. And in this case, we're talking about management science, because this is a management science journal. So that's going to be the number 1 reason, most common reason why people are rejected. The second really has to do with the design method and stats of the research. We have pretty clear standards here in science, social sciences, which management science is really a social science. And so if you're not following those standard practices, standard procedures, if there is unclarity, it's not clear what exactly your design or your method is, or why you did the stats that you did, then that's going to be a rejection. And so that's really important. It's important to make sure your design method stats are correct and that you explain them clearly. Sometimes there isn't a problem there. The problem is just simply that it's not explained clearly. The third most common reason is that it really doesn't fit for the journal. And so, we get submissions where it's very clear that they've never actually read Management Decision. They don't really know anything about the journal. They don't know the kind of research we do. They don't know what our scope is. Some people just submit things because they're just, I guess, hoping that something might happen. And so you want to make sure that you're fitting into the scope of whatever journal it is you're submitting to. And a part of that is really the implications. So if the journal is like Management Decision about management science, then your research needs to have something to say about managers, because that's kind of what we're all about. We're all about helping, hopefully helping managers perform better in their organizations. And so if your research really does not speak to that, at least in the example of Management Decision, then, it's not something that we're going to want to pursue. So these really are the top three. And so we could have more that we talk about there, but a lot of the reasons why papers are rejected really boil down to these three. So these are going to be really important things to consider when you are submitting to a journal. In terms of Management Decision, most of what we do publish is either new data, so people conducted research where they actually collected data from real people. And even better there, if you have more than one study where you do that, where you show some progression of the thought and the research. The other most common type of paper we publish are theoretical papers. And so these aren't what we would call literature review papers. They're really theoretical papers. We're trying to look at the theory that exists in management science and related sciences, and then identify, well, what is the next step? What is the next important thing to advance that theory? And so we do at our base try to have a theory there. Perfect example of very, very good theory journal is Academy of Management Review, which you may be familiar with. AMR, we could say for short. They have numerous examples of what it means to write a theory paper. And so our preference is for that kind of AMR style, but we're open to some other styles as well, as long as, of course, it actually builds on theory and advances theory. So that's important for us. We do publish papers in really all areas of management science. So we are a general management science journal. And because we get so many submissions from so many different areas, all of our associate editors are broken out by expertise. So what is the expertise area in management science that they know a lot about? And so the associate editors will handle those journal articles that correspond to their expertise when they're doing the reviews and getting peer reviewers. The other thing that we're doing a lot in the journal, so in terms of another type, is we do special issues. And we're open to special issues really in many management topic areas. We are committed to even having up to half of our issues be special issues. So we publish 12 issues a year. Actually, we have 13 a year if you count the open access articles. But otherwise, we have 12 issues a year. And if we have enough high quality special issues, we can have up to half of those be special issues. So six of the 12. It doesn't always work out that way every year. But the point is that we are very welcome to special issues. So if you have questions about that, just send me an email. and we can talk more about the opportunities there for the special issues. But how a special issue works is you create a theme that you can gather high quality papers around. And of course, this needs to be management science related. And then you actually act as a guest editor and perform the task of editor, in the sense that you perform the task of, I guess you could say, an associate editor, but you're gathering all of the papers and making sure that they're properly peer reviewed. And then, of course, collecting the best papers you receive to be put together in a special issue, which the guest editor will also be able to write an editorial talking about the special issue, and maybe even talking a little bit more in depth about the topic. That baby. We do have a new section that I want to mention to you for a second here. Since this is our 55th year as a journal, and we actually have 60 issues. So there were 5 years in which they didn't have issues. That's why we're at 55 actually as a journal. We have a new section called Over a Half Century of Management Decision. And the idea is that we have all of these issues, spanning over 50 years. Let's have papers written over the specific topics covered across those years, and have really an extensive lit review paper. So this wouldn't necessarily be exactly a theory paper. It is more of a lit review paper, but it's going to cover specifically management decision and that specific topic that you're looking at across all of those issues that they might have done research on that topic. And so topics, of course, for management science would be things like leadership, strategy, marketing, operations, HR, decision-making, right? There's a lot of different topics that could be chosen there. But the idea, once again, is that you would choose a specific topic that you could then do a lit review paper across all of the relevant issues in management decision. So what has been researched for those topics across the 50 plus years that the journal's been in existence. So that's the idea there. So we just launched this this year. So 2022 is kind of our new initiative this year that we launched. So if you're interested in this, just send me an email and we can talk more about it. Another section that we introduced last year is called Inmotion, and I'm pretty excited about this new section, and so I just want to briefly talk about this one with you as well. Another opportunity to publish kind of a unique type of article. We find that, of course, there's a gap between academic research and real life business practice. So we do research on management science, but that doesn't always transfer over to practicing managers. Now, practitioners, of course, do have need for actual insights. So we do a lot of research and learn a lot of things that could be helpful for managers, if they would listen and apply that information. And this can apply, of course, beyond just for-profits. So really all organizations where there is a leadership structure could benefit from the type of research that's done in management science. And so the idea is, well, let's have articles that speak more to the practitioner, not just to the researcher or the theorist. And so we have different options here that people can write on. You could do insightful interviews with CEOs, other managers. Practitioners themselves could write articles. theory research articles targeting real life intervention. So helping practitioners see how the theory can transition over to actual real life interventions in their organization. Real cases that might advance management science could also be used there. And so this is kind of mirrored after or follows after the idea of the Harvard Business Review style. So we're kind of using that Harvard Business Review style and creating new articles. And we've already had a few that will be published that we were able to get together from last year. And so we actually haven't even published any of these yet, but we do have some that are in press and will be published soon. And we're continually gathering more. So, once again, this is an area that you're interested in. Just let me know. We do have a Inmotion senior associate editor that really is in charge of this, Wendy Chen, that does a great job. But if you have questions, just let me know about that. So these are shorter articles. Typically our research or theory articles are going to be up to 9,000 words. These are shorter. These are 2,000, 3,000 words in length. They should be timely. They should contribute to research, but they also should provide actionable managerial implications and lessons that are practical and can be applied by real managers. That's the idea behind it. I'm sure we'll have the questions and comments here, but I do want to tell you about our LinkedIn group. So really kind of launched this at the end of 2020. What I do is I try to post something there about once a week with some kind of news or updates from management decisions. So if you're considering publishing management decision, it might be a good thing to look at on occasion if you're on LinkedIn, just to kind of get a sense of the journal and what we're doing. So there's the info to join that group if you're interested on LinkedIn. So,
Thank you, sir.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes, sir. Sir, can we begin with the questions and comments, sir?
Oh, yes, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So first, let me introduce myself, sir. My name is Dr. Anand. I work as an assistant professor with the Department of Commerce. And amongst us, we have a mixture of different people representing academicians, industrial experts, scholarly student community, and PhD research scholars. So we have already collected few doubts and questions which we had, which we could post it forward and seek a solution from your side. So not only from the perspective of management decisions, but also from the perspective of a collection of other journals and publication units as well. So could you kindly tell us which type of articles will have high acceptance rate? Is it qualitative or quantitative or mixed research methods?
At least at management decision, we're open to either type. Sometimes the quantitative might be a little more straightforward for people to understand, but we do publish quite a bit of qualitative as well. In terms of increasing your likelihood of acceptance, I would say it would be even better to have both in there, because then you're kind of triangulating the results and showing how they might relate to multiple ways of looking at the topic. So you're definitely going to increase your likelihood of publishing if you can include more or both types, and also if you can at least include maybe multiple studies in the article instead of just one study.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So there is one question which has been posted by Dr. Uma VR. How do we identify relevant theory from our research? For our research.
How can we identify the theory? Is that what you said?
Yes. How do we identify relevant theories for our research?
I think that doesn't come easily. It comes through reading a lot in the area that you're researching. So once you get in deep, and that I think that also can benefit from reaching beyond management science to some of the other social sciences. Like I said in my presentation, some of the other social sciences have been around longer, and so they have deeper theories that we can pull from in management science. And that's kind of the nice thing about management science, is that we can pull from a lot of other areas such as psychology, sociology, political science. There's a lot of even philosophy, right? So even philosophy, more generally speaking. So I think it just requires understanding the topic area and then being willing to expand and look outside of management science in particular. Some of the best articles that we have published recently pull from the other sciences, but show how it relates to management science. That's the key, is connecting it in to management science.
Thank you, sir. So what factors has to be considered for a quality bibliometric metrics article?
That's a good question. We don't publish a lot of those. Like I said, we kind of favor original data and theory papers over those types of papers. But we have published them. We're actually going to be publishing one soon, just over management decision, generally speaking, looking at across the 55 years of management decision. I think the key there, though, if it is going to be something that at least we're interested in a management decision, that's probably true of a lot of journals, is that it needs to be more than just descriptive, because you do a lot of descriptive work with that type of methodology, but you need to go beyond just describing what's there to talking about the implications. What does it mean? Why do we care about it? Where does it lead us in advancing theory and research in the area? Thank
you, sir. So this is one question which I always had, which I wanted to clarify from the editors.
Sure.
Plus, a cover letter has an impact on the journal editor's quick decision to accept.
I don't know if it has a huge impact. I know that I look at the cover letters, but those are usually more just kind of scanned. So you just kind of look them over quickly. What I look at, and I know the other associators do this, is the actual article. So we're going to look at the actual article and see what's actually there. And so I wouldn't say the cover letter really has a very large influence on the decision-making process. It's the actual paper and what you've presented in the actual paper itself.
Thank you, sir. So being from the academic community, as young and upcoming researchers, so we all have this force or pressure to publish in reputed journals. So can professors who would like to be editors for special issues, what are the eligibility criteria, sir?
It's helpful to show that you have been successful in the past publishing papers, because if you're acting as the essentially the guest editor, then you should be able to demonstrate that you understand what good research is and then how to do it. Because otherwise it's going to be difficult to judge others' work, right? If you yourself maybe don't understand what is good research. So that's useful to demonstrate that you've published before and understand the process. The other thing that we really look for, at least in management decision, is making sure that the topic fits in with what we're looking at in the journal, especially in terms of past special issues we've had. So if you're interested in doing a special issue, I highly recommend you look, at least in the last few years, at the topics that have been covered and don't duplicate those, right? We don't want to just keep having kind of similar types of special issues over and over. We're a general management journal, so we want to pull from lots of different areas of management science. And so trying to do something maybe different than what's been done before would be really important, but also choosing topics that people would find interesting and are timely. So they speak to maybe what's currently going on. For example, this year we're gonna publish a special issue on prejudice at work, right? This is kind of a big issue, at least in the US right now. So yeah, so thinking about, well, what is something that can make an impact that people would be interested in, and then also don't just repeat what's been done in the past in terms of choosing your topic. But it's helpful, of course, to also, like I said, be an expert in the area and show that you've published before, so you could be able to select good articles.
Thank you, sir. So there is one question from Dr. Vivek. From the reviewer's perspective, what points should we consider when we look into a paper?
I mean, I think it would go back, if you want to say just generally the points, it would go back to, like I said, the top 3 reasons why papers are rejected in management decision. I was going to try to go back that slide there. As reviewers, we want to make sure that the theory is there. We want to make sure that they've dug into the literature like they should. We want to make sure that the methods, the design, the stats are okay. And we want to make sure it fits with management decision, or whatever journal it is that we're reviewing for, that it fits in, that it's in scope.
Thank you, sir. So there is one more question from Neil Jose. To take a decision to desk reject or send out for a review, what all does the editor skim through?
Well, yeah, we since we get so many submissions, we do desk reject, and that's once again just really a necessity on our part. But we feel like it also helps the submitting author, because review process can take a while. I showed you the numbers there. It can take, just to get your feedback from the first round of reviews, we're looking at maybe 3 months, right? So we do desk reject. In terms of what we look for, it does kind of actually boil back down to these 3 things once again. If you're looking over the paper and it seems like they're just not really speaking to the theory that exists in the area, or they just don't seem to have a good grasp of the literature, that would be a pretty common desk reject. If we scan over the stats and the methods and there's confusion there, maybe they pulled from old data, or they didn't have enough participants, or it appears that the stats are not done correctly. That could be definitely a desk reject. And then the easiest way to desk reject something would just be looking at what the topic is. And if we see, well, this really is not a management science article, this might be a marketing science, or this might be an accounting or a finance, right? Then that would be a clear desk reject as well, that it just doesn't fit with the type of articles we publish.
Thank you, sir. So connecting to the desk rejection or the rejection aspect, Dr. Harmandeep has posted a question: how to cope up with the comments from the editors which we don't have a readability for a particular area?
Can you, I guess I don't understand the question. So we're looking at comments from the editor. How do we implement them? Is that what you're asking, or?
Yes, sir. Like, how do we respond to the comments which has been posted by the journal editors?
Oh, okay. So if we're going to do a revision, you're saying. So if you get a revise and resubmit, it's actually really important that you make that process as clear as you possibly can. So I recommend taking the comments and actually reproducing them, and then directly under the specific comment, you could say response, and then you need to write down your response. And in writing down the response, you need to specifically say where in the article you made those changes, if you made changes. If you don't make it very, very clear how you address the concern and where you address the concern in the article, then you might be in danger of getting a rejection. We do reject articles that get an R&R. Sometimes it usually is because of that. It's because they don't seem to take the feedback seriously. People take a long time reading these things. They spend a lot of time trying. The common goal is that we want to make it the best article possible, right? We want it to make the best it can be. And so, unfortunately, sometimes people just don't take it seriously enough. If there is a concern written there, you have to respond to it, right? You have to say why you agree or disagree, and then how you addressed it in the actual article and where you addressed it. Those things are all going to be really important in the revision process.
Thank you, sir. So Dr. Deepika has posted a question with reference to qualitative papers, especially based on interviews. Yes. Do you also want to see the transcripts as well?
It kind of depends on the situation. The reviewers might ask for that sometimes. There is, when you're submitting in Scholar 1, there are places where you can add that type of information to look at. And so a default that might be good is just to put it all there, so it's just there. And it may or may not be used in the review process. It's obviously not something we would publish because it's just too much to publish, but there's, I can think of multiple instances where reviewers wanted to see that so they could kind of understand what it was that the researchers did and how they did it. So yeah, it just kind of depends. A good default is just to put it there when you're submitting, just so you have it.
Thank you, sir. So there are two more questions.
Oh, sure.
So one question is from my side. Are there any issues when we self-cite our own articles? How is it seen from the editor's perspective?
Self-citing is okay. It happens all the time. And if you're an expert in the area and you've done research in the area, then that would be expected. It's not necessarily looked down on. Where it can become problematic, though, is if, and this has happened to us, unfortunately, but we get articles that are very, very similar to other articles that the authors have already published. And so, we want to make sure we're publishing information that is unique and has not been published other places. That's important for us. And so as long as there is a clear difference or a clear extension or a clear addition to what has already been done, then that's really not a problem, because that's how science works. Like I mentioned, we build off of the work of others, including our own past work. So yeah, so that isn't necessarily a bad thing, as long as it is actually different from past work that has been done.
Yes, sir. So the next one is, does the editor read through the entire article before sending out for review, or do they read only the abstract?
So I think it depends on the journal. I can tell you how it works at Management Decision. So when you submit an article, it first actually goes to my assistant, and he's a graduate student, and all he looks at is just whether the format is correct. So he just simply looks at format is all he looks at. He doesn't really look at the content at all. And if the format looks okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be pretty close. Then what happens? If it's not okay, he actually sends it back to the author and tells them to fix it. But if it's okay, it goes to what we call senior associate editors. And we have two that do this. The third, we have actually three. The third one does the Inmotion stuff I talked about, but the other two, what they do is they get the articles, so they're submitted from my assistant, who just looked at the formatting. And what they do is they will submit those to the various associate editors that we have. And these associate editors are broken down by their expertise. So what is the area in which they have expertise in? But what the senior associate editors can do at that point is they can also desk reject. And so what they will do is they do look beyond just the abstract, but it is more of a scan where they look it over and see, for example, whether these three things that I have here, the three most common reasons are a problem. And so if they're a problem, then they might desk reject there. But if it's not a problem, then it does get sent to the associate editors that are broken up by expertise. And they also might desk reject at that point. So the associate editors can also desk reject. And once again, I don't think they base that just on an abstract. It does require a full scan of the paper. It might not be an in-depth reading of the paper, but it is a full scan of the paper. And then at that point, if things look okay, then that's when they send them to the peer reviewers. And the peer reviewers are based on expertise as well. The peer reviewers, and of course, the peer reviewers cannot just scan the paper, right? They're going to read the paper in depth. So yeah, so we have a few different places in which it can be desk rejected. And then once the peer reviewers are done, the associate editors make their recommendation. It actually all goes to me. So I'm the final person to look at it. And I do look at the whole article as well before I will accept an article. So I do look at the full article before it gets accepted. So I'm kind of the last one to look at it.
Thank you, sir. There is one thought-provoking question which runs in mind of most of our researchers. Should we select the journal before we start writing the research article, or should we finish the research article and then select the journal for publication?
That's a good question. Obviously, it's a personal preference, but I guess I could talk about the way I've done it in the past. Usually when I'm doing research, I do have a journal in mind, right, that I want to submit it to. because sometimes the focus or the frame that you use for the article changes depending on where you are going to submit it to. So for example, if you want to show that you're joining the academic conversation, you probably should be reading articles in that journal that you're going to submit to, and you should be citing those in the article as well, just so that you're showing that you understand what has been discussed in the journal articles for that journal. And so, yeah, so I mean, I think it's good to have in mind, at least where you're going to initially submit it, but you should also have a strategy in place where you would assume that, you should just assume that you'll get rejected, and so that you have another journal lined up after that you can submit to. And I usually base mine on rankings, right? So I might start with the A+ rankings and then kind of work down from there. But yeah, I think you should always have in mind when you're doing your research, where you want to submit it to, and kind of adjust accordingly.
Yes. So there are many comprehensive reports which are available, which are either white reports or scientific reports. Are we allowed to cite them?
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine to cite those. Sometimes the white papers can be a little bit questionable because they might be put out by an organization almost as marketing, right? Sometimes they use them even as marketing. So we got to be careful with white papers sometimes, but it's fine. If that's the only thing you're citing, that might be a problem because we once again want to make sure we're showing that we understand the research and the theory in the area, which white papers might not necessarily speak to always. So yeah, so in combination with other types of citations, it's not a problem.
Thank you, sir. And these days on our LinkedIn profiles, we get to see a lot of informative blogs, which has been shared by people across the globe. So are we allowed to cite blog articles as well, sir?
Yeah, once again, that's fine as long as it's not the only type of citations you have. As long as it's in conjunction with the scientific and academic literature and theory, then that's fine.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sure.
So we are reaching near to the closing time. So
Yes.
Considering that aspect, we would wind up this session. So I would like to propose the vote of thanks, sir, on behalf of the Department of Commerce. So, dear Professor, thank you so much for first accepting our request to be the resource person for this session. So this webinar was very useful because we spoke about a lot of questions where we received a lot of interesting answers. And I think as researchers and young scholars, we can all start implementing this for our personal development. We would look forward to connect with you for future publications, collaborations as well, sir. So again, I'm wishing you a warm greeting and gratitude. Have a great day, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And, feel free to email me if you have any questions. I guess you would have access to my email. If you just Google me, it's easy to see my email. But yeah, feel free. Anyone who wants to email me with additional questions that you might have, I really do try to answer my emails. So feel free to email me.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
You're
Great
welcome.
meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.